So very good morning, good afternoon, good evening everyone. So today we are going to discuss about connective tissues. In earlier video we have discussed about epithelial tissues. So connective tissues special feature is it provides the functional and mechanical support to all types of other tissues. If we talk about epithelium, so below epithelium there is a connective tissues which provide the mechanical as well as the functional support. It provides the nutrients, it provides the blood circulations to the epithelium. Right. So, connective tissues again it is a tissue is a group of cells together. So, these cells are together. If you see the connective tissues, so they have a ground substances and ground substances are your glucosa aminoglycan, GSG, glucosa GAG. Glucosa aminoglycan is the one of the ground substance. Another ground substance is your glycoproteins. Another is your proteoglycans. So these three we call ground substances. So connective tissues is made up of ground substances which contain glucosa aminoglycan, glycoproteins and proteoglycan. And another thing which is there in the connective tissue is the fibers. So some fibers are very thick, some fibers are thin but unbranched, and some fibers are your branched one. So mainly there are three types of fibers in the connective tissues. Some are thick fibers, unbranched, and that fibers we call collagen fibers. The fibers which is still unbranched but thin, that is we call reticular fiber. There is another fibers which are branched, that we call elastic fibers. So what the connective tissue contains? Connective tissues is made up of ground substances. And what are ground substances? Ground substances are your glucosa aminoglycans, your glycoproteins and proteoglycans. And what other things connective tissues contains? Connective tissue contains fibers, and fibers are of three types. Collagen fibers which are thick but unbranched. There is a fibers, reticular fibers which are the thin and unbranched, and there is a elastic fiber which are branched one. But again we have not talked about the cells, and as per the definition of the tissues, group of the cells we call tissues. So where is the cells? So cells are there. In between the fibers there are a cells of the connective tissues. So these are the cells of the connective tissues, and the material outside the cells we call extracellular matrix, ECM. Extracellular matrix. Extracellular ECM we called it in short way. Extracellular, as its name indicate, extracellular, सेल के बाहर जो भी मटेरियल है उसको हम एक्स्ट्रासेलुलर मैट्रिक्स बोलते हैं. तो सेल के बाहर क्या मटेरियल है? सेल के बाहर आपके फाइबर्स हैं और ग्राउंड सब्सटेंसेज हैं, राइट. So again if you see the compositions of connective tissues, there is a ground substances, right, and there is a fibers. If we talk about connective tissues, right. So ground substances, glucosa aminoglycan, that we call GAG. Then there is a proteoglycan, then there is a glycoproteins. So these three are your ground substances in the connective tissues. And fibers are your collagen fibers, reticular fibers and your elastic fibers. elastic fibers. So these are the three fibers. Collagen fibers are the fibers which are unbranched but thick. Reticular fibers are your unbranched but thin, right? Elastic fibers are your branched fibers. And all these materials is outside the cells. That's why we called it ECM, extracellular matrix. Extracellular matrix. So if question is asked, write the composition of extracellular matrix. So what you have to write? You have to write there is a ground substances, glucosamminoglycan, proteoglycan, glycoproteins. These are the ground substances and these are the fibers. So ground substances plus fibers makes the extracellular matrix. So if we talk about what is connective tissue, so connective tissue is equal to your ground substances plus fibers, right? So connective tissues, plus one more important thing which I forget, plus cells, because group of cells makes the tissue, that is your connective tissue. So connective tissue is equal to cells plus ground substances plus fibers, and ground substances are of three types: glucosamminoglycan, proteoglycan and glycoproteins. Fibers, collagen fiber, reticular fiber, elastic fiber. And what is extracellular matrix? Apart from cells, the material which is outside the cell is ground substances and fibers, that is we called extracellular matrix, right? So this is about your connective tissues, and connective tissue provides functional and mechanical support to all types of tissues. Below epithelium there is your connective tissues, right? So this is the compositions of your connective tissue. This is the composition of your extracellular matrix. So extracellular matrix plus cells also we call connective tissues. So connective tissues have a not a very tightly joined together cells, because outside the cells there is a extracellular matrix. So cells are not tightly joined together as in case of epithelium. In epithelium the special feature is, in epithelium cells are tightly joined together, but in connective tissue cells are not joined together. Outside the cell there is a lot of materials, that is your ground substances and your fibers, and that we call extracellular matrix. So extracellular matrix plus cell is equal to connective tissues, right? So this is all about connective tissues. Next is your muscular tissues. So next video we are going to discuss about muscular tissues.